Imagine working endless shifts, carrying trays heavier than your dreams, and living with unanswered questions about your past. Now, picture helping a tired old man who seems like just another customer, until he takes off his hat and says words that turn your world upside down. I'm your father, and a billionaire. Stay with me, because what happens next will remind you that destiny has its own way of finding us, when we least expect it. Amelia was only 22, but her eyes carried the exhaustion of someone twice her age. Every day, she worked double shifts at a small-town diner to cover rent and her mother's medical bills. Her apron was stained, her shoes worn out, and her heart carried a quiet longing for something more. Her father. She never knew him. All Amelia had were fragments of stories from her mother, how he left before she was born, how he was too complicated to stay, how she shouldn't waste time hoping he'd ever come back. Amelia grew up promising herself she'd never need him. But late at night, she still wondered who he was. One rainy Tuesday night, as the diner was nearly empty, a man walked in. His coat was shabby, his hat pulled low, and his hands trembled slightly as he sat at a corner booth. Amelia, though tired, smiled politely and brought him coffee. Something in his presence unsettled her, like he carried an invisible weight heavier than her own. The man studied her carefully, his gaze soft yet intense. But Amelia brushed it off, assuming he was just another lonely soul passing through. The man, who introduced himself only as Mr. Harris, became a regular. He always ordered the same, black coffee and a slice of apple pie. Some nights, he'd leave generous tips, other nights, nothing at all. But Amelia noticed how he'd ask her about her life, her dreams, her struggles, her past. At first, she resisted opening up. But as weeks passed, she found herself telling him things she never told anyone. How she wanted to study literature but couldn't afford college. How she sometimes felt invisible to the world. And how the question of her father haunted her, like a missing piece of her own identity. Mr. Harris would listen quietly, sometimes with tears in his eyes. One night, Amelia saw him struggle to pay his bill. His wallet was nearly empty. He looked embarrassed. Without thinking, she covered the cost herself. "It's okay," she said softly. "You don't have to explain. Everyone struggles sometimes." Her kindness seemed to break something inside him. He clutched his hat, whispered a shaky, "Thank you," and walked out quickly. Amelia didn't know it then, but that simple act of compassion would change her life forever. The next evening, Mr. Harris returned. But this time, he looked different. The shabby coat was gone, replaced with a tailored suit. He seemed taller, stronger, almost powerful. Amelia froze when he sat down. "You look different," she said nervously. With trembling hands, the man removed his hat. His hair was silver, his face lined with age, but his eyes, those eyes mirrored her own. "Amelia," he whispered, voice breaking. "I'm not Mr. Harris. My real name is Richard Sterling. And I'm your father." The room fell silent. Amelia's tray nearly slipped from her hands. Her mind raced. Anger. Shock. Betrayal. "My father? You abandoned us. Do you have any idea what we went through?" Richard's eyes filled with tears. "I never wanted to leave. When your mother and I met, I was a different man, young, reckless, afraid of responsibility. But I've spent decades building an empire, and living with regret. I searched for you for years but couldn't find you. Then fate brought me here. To this diner. To you." Amelia shook her head, her heart torn. Could she believe him? Or was this just another man with empty promises? Richard then pulled out a small velvet box. Inside was a locket, with a picture of her as a baby, wrapped in her mother's arms. Amelia gasped. It was real. He had kept her close, even from afar. Tears streamed down her face, but her voice trembled with pain. "Why now? Why tell me when so much time has already been lost? Richard reached across the table. Because kindness has a way of revealing the truth. You didn't help me because I was rich. You helped me because you have the heart of someone extraordinary. That's the daughter I prayed I'd find. The diner's silence hung heavy. For Amelia, it felt like the world had stopped spinning. Her father, her billionaire father, was here, begging for forgiveness. Part of her wanted to run, to reject him for the years of pain. But another part saw the sincerity in his eyes, the years of regret carved into his face. Richard whispered, Amelia, I don't expect you to forgive me overnight. But I want to make things right. Not with money, not with gifts, though I will support your dreams, but with time, love, and presence. Let me be your father, if you'll let me. Amelia's heart pounded. Slowly, she nodded. I don't know if I can forgive everything, but I'm willing to try. Richard broke down, tears streaming as he embraced her. For the first time in her life, Amelia felt what she had always longed for, a father's arms around her. The next days were filled with slow healing. Richard introduced her to a world of wealth she never imagined, but Amelia insisted on staying true to her roots. Money doesn't define me, she said. But maybe love can heal me. And as the screen fades, the narrator's voice returns. Sometimes, the family we've been searching for is closer than we think. Sometimes, the answers we crave come when we least expect them. Amelia's story is not just about finding her father.